People pick and choose who they love. People pick and choose who they throw shade at. That's why I do what I want. And spending all your time won't never get it back. Time is money, don't be wasting my cash. Give it back, give it back, get it back. Hey, time is money, don't be wasting my stacks. Spending all your time won't never get it back. People pick and choose.
What up, and welcome to the very 12th episode of the Pick Route. We're your host. My name is Patty.
What up, 14? It's Dave.
What's going on, everyone? Sweet.
What's up? Smooth.
And today we are playing Position U. More on that later, but we're going to go ahead and jump right into the pregame. Moose with the text last night saying, I'm going first in pregame. I got something. So, Moose, go ahead and kick us off.
All right. So this week, Patty, he put out a scorcher on Twitter, and then
It's on my professional
in our state,
coaching Twitter, not on the
right.
Pick Route Twitter, on my personal account.
Right. So basically, in our state, we have really good high school football, period. We are also in a state where there are prep leagues and things of leagues of those type. And I found it really interesting being a guy that coached in both of these leagues at the highest level, went to championship games in these prep school leagues. I think it's funny. Pat put out a tweet which just stated facts that there were actually this year more public school, the league that encompasses the public schools in our state had more kids drafted to the NFL or signed to the NFL, period, than the prep leagues did. And I thought it's funny because Patty put into words what we've talked about for a long time, that coaching is coaching. And when you have some of these schools that are clearly recruiting your players from your own town, I think that it's funny that there all of a sudden is a pivot to, we want to make the area of football in our area better. And to me, I take that as an offense, man, because you are disregarding the work that so many public school football coaches do in our state. And, when, I was texting Patty throughout the week because we obviously talked a lot about this post, and, he's one of my best friends, and we coach at two schools where Patty coaches. He's got an incredible talent pool. They have a lot of kids on a year-by-year basis that are extraordinarily talented. Where we coach at School B, we have very good players, but they generally do not garner the accolades that maybe some of the schools that, like, for, let's say, Patty's school does. But they both are needed at that level of prep and JUCO level of football. And I think that when you have some of the coaches in our area start to blanket the state with, we're trying to make New England football better, I think that that's an offense to people that have been working for decades. And for us, at this point, yeah, we're young, but we're not that young. We're into our second decade here coaching in this state. And I think that is completely ridiculous. And when you post on your school's website about recruiting players, it shouldn't be a shock when a public school coach comes back at you with the cold, hard facts that, you know what, you can do it here. And there is no difference. And if you're good enough, they will find you, and I think there are certain cases, again, from a guy that coached in both of these leagues, there are certain cases where some of those kids can gain an opportunity that they never had. But you're not special because you did that. There's 15 other prep schools. There's 100 JUCOs. There's 100 PG programs that could all do the exact same thing that you're doing. You're not special, and you don't coach better. And I think that, we have exposed some of that because there are text messages. I had a quarterback 2 years ago that was being contacted mid-season by other high school coaches to try and pull him his senior year to go. And credit to him, he understood where he was and the coaching he was getting and the scheme and the family and the community that he was a part of. And I'm proud of him for sticking that route. But when you have some of these guys on Twitter and in the world of high school coaching right now, it's kind of crazy that they will take offense to you defending your program. And I think that that's ridiculous. Yep. And the what's funny is that it will be those same kids that they get, one of the things that they'll say is, well, we're not coming after your kids. Well, that's false because I've seen the text messages and I've seen the messages. That's not true. And you need to be better than that. And at the end of the day, like you said, the arena that's been created in our state is one where we have to constantly be recruiting our own players. And don't give me that if your program's good enough. Our program B, right. I don't know about program A where Patty's at, but program B, where we're at, has every single thing that a prep school or a JUCO can provide any high school football player. We have every single thing you want and more.
Yeah, bottom line is it's past running a good program is what we're talking about, right? In terms of recruiting kids.
That is a cop out that you use for certain schools from certain areas. You use that as a cop out to take some of those players. And I want to applaud Patty for standing up for his program and his players and saying, these are the facts. The facts is we put out Division I players. For example, at School B, we put out our first Division I football player this year in 14 years. So that was before Quee, Dank, and I had joined this program. But we just put out our first Division I football player in 14 years. And you know what? He would have gotten the same looks. And I would argue that we put him in a position to succeed to the point where a major FCS school came in and said, we want this kid. Like he is a stud. And we appreciate, going back to our earlier conversations about, your quarterback playing certain positions, but college coaches know what they're doing. Like they understand, So I just want to applaud Patty for taking kind of a stand where you don't just get to demean us with your tone and your statements when we defend our programs against the same thing that you're saying. Because at the end of the day, you're not worried about us as public school coaches walking on your campus and taking your players, but we are worried about you coming into our towns, which are good towns with good programs and coming in and selling our kids on something you can't fulfill. And that's the bottom line. We're not coming to your school to take your kids, but you're coming to our towns and trying to sell them on this vision that you think you have because you are a school that just so happens to be on a recruiting trail. You're not special. There's 15 other schools that are going to stop right there. And if your kid is good enough, they're going to stop there too. Right. So, well,
Yeah, no, I mean, appreciate you saying that. And we'll roll right into my time too. I don't care, because I think this is an important thing to talk about with us. The other part of it being is they have, and I think you just said it perfectly there, where all of their benefits that they say they have is all the same between those schools in that league. It's all the same. They don't have anything unique to them. And, I think one of the other major things that I hear a lot when I go out to, and again, like you said, was there a tone of going at them? Yeah. But all I stated was facts of why I think that my program and your guys' program and every other program like ours in the state, this is what I think we can provide. You guys get to do it all the time. And it's like when one of us did it, it felt like a, hey, remember your place type of deal by some of the responses I got. And the one that gets me a lot, and it really bothers me, is when they go, well, you got to think about the academic piece of doing what's right by the kids and getting that academic piece in. You can't compete with the academics. My response to that is, then why is it that only the good athletes are being presented this opportunity? Like, I got a kid that would benefit greatly from a great education. He's 5'4", and that's also his 40, and he plays receiver. Why isn't he being offered that? Okay. And then the response back to that is always, well, it's the same thing with college. Like, Alabama's only going to offer their thing. Okay, but Alabama's also saying they want to win. So don't put it behind, we're trying to do what's best for the kids. This holier than thou kind of deal. No. If you just came out and said, yeah, he's really good, like, we want him and we want to win games, I want to like it, but I'd respect it more than what you're saying about this nonsense of, and it's been a stigma in our state. Is the reason why I put the tweet out, is that you can't do it unless you go to one of these schools. That's
and that's just
it's
false.
Ridiculous.
And don't get it twisted either. Think about the qualifications. The rules to teach in some of these schools is by far different than a lot of the states. And look, and what's involved with public education too. So,
and we're not talking about post-grads. Like, there's
we're talking about kids freshman year.
Yes, the reclassifying of them taking kids freshman, sophomore, junior year to come into their programs. We're not talking about post-grads. There's a definite need for that. I post-grad myself. I did that. So, like, I can't just sit here and say, like, there's no use for that. But they're taking these kids from other states who have 4 Division I scholarships already, and they get them a 5th, and then they come to our kids and go, we send 4 guys Division I every year. It could be you, when it's not. It's not. Their best opportunity is with us, because I hear all the time from these, we're just trying to do what's best for these kids. In well-run programs, I've known these kids since 2nd grade.
Right.
Okay. So how would you know more than I know about what they're doing? So
that's and we'll get into this scheme talk in a second. But one of the things that I think is ridiculous is, you have some of these coaches at some of these programs, that are actively recruiting your players during the season, and we've seen it. And the thing is, what you're doing is you're demeaning the educational value that they're getting from their own schools, their programs, their communities, by saying things like they're better off with us. No, they're not. You don't know these boys. You don't know these kids. So just that statement in itself is, honestly, it's a little ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
So, don't be afraid and don't be scared when public school coaches start clapping back at you.
Nope.
When you're posting your camps that you invited all of these schools to, and you run these league camps where all of them work together, don't be offended when public school coaches say, hold on, you know what? These are all the things that we do, because I know Johnny. He's in 6th grade and I know him. We're working with him. He's been to our camps for the last 3 years in our youth programs, and his older brother played for us, and we're building this, and he's ready to play for us, So it's I don't know, man. And then half these guys, because they have connections to some of these programs, are able to walk in and just, take these positions that they're unqualified for. So tell me, what do you know at 24 years old to be throwing around weight and scholarship money that's not yours, but your school's, at kids across the state? So
yeah,
my thing, that was my first take on the just to build off of your text, because it was a big scorcher in our state, and it got a lot of tread, and it was what a lot of public school coaches have been thinking for a long time, and we've discussed amongst us four before we built this podcast. It was a big thing that we talked about.
And all over the state, it was, we've talked about this and this issue for us in our private circles all the time. And, I'll tell those guys, and I don't think any of them are the 14, but I'll tell those guys, it's not stopping here. More's coming,
Yep.
So, but let's it's an important topic for us. We're obviously very passionate about that.
Well, bullshit's got to be called bullshit when you see it.
Facts.
And the problem is too many times, because of our coaching fraternity, we don't call it out the way it should be.
Right.
And now it's getting called out.
Yeah. And I think we're also less likely to do the, hey, look at the great things that we're doing. We're going to obviously always going to promote our kids, but high school coaches a lot of times aren't going like, hey, look at this program that I built. They're not
right.
We're not saying those type of things. So, maybe it's time we start. Like, maybe, and it was the culmination was my last line of that tweet was, maybe your best opportunity is where you already are.
Yep.
Maybe it is. But on a lighter note, Tank, what do you got?
Yep.
So we decided to do pregame. We're talking about scheme. And so I'm going to talk about when I used to play NCAA and won, 20 national championships.
The video game.
Correct. So I used to play as a middle linebacker. I'd call the play. Everybody else do what you do, but I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to go make freaking plays. Whether I blitz when I'm not supposed to, or just freaking cover the guy, double cover the guy that's really good. So, and then I thought about, like, how could you actually do this in, like, actual football where, a guy just runs around the field, like, has a nose for the football, and like, thinking about it, like, your coverages are pretty much set, especially, like, if you blitz, your coverages are set, and you take one of those blitzers, I'm not saying you do this with every kid, but you can assign a kid and be like, listen, you can do whatever you want. If you want to blitz, freaking, just spy the quarterback. If you want to drop back in coverage, like, do what you got to do, but, like, just make a play, and if you don't make the play, then we're not calling that play anymore for you. We'll find somebody else to do it. But, I think it could end up being, a useful thing if you get a kid that knows your defense, like knows what everybody else is doing, and has a nose for the football to just go make plays instead of assigning them to, a specific, job. Then I think it could be useful for some defenses. The things where most likely you do it with like a safety, who, could drop into coverage or freaking roll down, whatever, and it doesn't affect the gap integrity of, your defense. But you could do it with linebackers. You could do it with D-line. Like, if you have a freak D-lineman and he can go make plays and freaking let him do it. Yeah, I don't know what you guys.
It is kind of where you see kind of the evolution of some defenses kind of moving towards.
Mm-hmm.
I think of Jabril Peppers.
Tyrann Matthews, I think, pretty much does it in the
Tyrann
NFL.
Matthews pretty close.
Hey, J-Ron Curse from Dallas.
Yep. Isaiah Simmons.
It's just the truth.
Isaiah Simmons when he was at Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida State did a lot with Jalen Ramsey also.
Hey, and Tanner Muse from Clemson.
Yes.
For those 3 or 4 years, man, he was their nickel player. And when I think, Dank, what you're saying is utilize that nickel player as your movable piece. Where he can be a robber player, but he can also be a blitzer. He can be a run support player in certain situations.
And my thing about this too, it's like as you guys as offensive, coordinators, and you see this guy just like standing not where he normally stands, like, and you're thinking that he does this is what he's going to do every time when he goes here, and he doesn't. It could throw you guys for a loop on what to call and shit.
I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's not the team that aligns perfectly on every play where where the 3-tech is going to be, and 3-tech's going to be a conversation about my duo talk tonight. But like it's not where the 3-tech is and the 30-eye is and stuff like that. But it's those teams that misalign by just because the kids aren't good enough or their coaches haven't drilled in, whatever the reason is. It's those teams where it's like, son of a bitch, those kids, he's not supposed to be there. And I know he's not supposed to be there, but he's there right now. And now we have to account for him. And that's kind of that movable piece.
Yeah. You call a play where you're trying to influence an outside backer or defensive end, and he just runs straight up the field. And he just blows up everything. And then he looks at you and does a throat slash at you.
My favorite is the 0 that's 380 pounds of hot dog that just gets off the ball and just waddles his ass in the middle of a slip screen. And you're like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, if there was a T-Rex right here, you could not run fast enough out of the way. Your ass would be eaten. And he makes the play on my running back.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I was starting to say it's especially in even front defenses, that positionalist player. It's what we had. Our kid at school A was pretty good, and that's kind of what we're hearing. He's an FBS kid, and that's kind of what we're hearing is that what he's going to end up doing is kind of that positionalist, strong safety, roll into the box, blitz the edge type of deal. So,
and that's a conversation to have about how football is changing. The Sam linebacker is no longer existent. You better have a guy that can not only be a force player, but can drop and run and can also give you something in your blitz package.
Well, that's what I think too, is like, I got on this topic too, because I think like the nickel we have nickel packages, but that's more of like what you're running defensively anyways, based off of what offenses are doing.
Right.
You're better off running nickel based off of the freaking RPOs and all this stuff.
Until like what we said, where the power sets start becoming more prevalent, but that's the reason why teams are starting to move to those power sets, is because teams their base is nickel. Like those type of kids.
Give me that 160-pound kid that you think can cover in space. I got a pulling guard for his face right now.
Here's a tight end, buddy, who happens to be just our 6th best offensive lineman anyways.
Right.
He's also our one tech on defense.
Good. It's kind of the way you see it moving, and it's pretty cool. It's fun, and when kids are good at that, it can get a lot of fun to be calling defense. But Quee, what do you got?
Well, I was looking at Dan Casey on Instagram and stuff like that, and my wheels were turning on some stuff, and it's kind of like I guess more of just a hope in this sense, but social media has done something to coaching in general, and I feel like and shout out to this dude, because what he does is awesome. But
he's awesome.
It makes me concerned that as we start growing a little bit more into coaching, and I mean, we've been doing this a long time, but I don't want to lose coaching clinics. Like we talk about scheme so much, and 90% of my newsfeed on social media is clinic talk, where I'm like, eventually I'm like, is someone going to figure this out? Because I'm going to be pissed.
It's so funny. Just real quick before you get going, we went to a coaching clinic this year, and I was sitting next to Moose in the back of one, and I just had this random thought.
Always back of the bus.
Head. Always back. We're the cool kids in the back, so we can talk about what we're seeing. And me and Moose specifically, because we're both offensive guys, have done a lot of work together, so we kind of speak the same language on some stuff. So it's great sitting next to him, even though we're at different schools. We didn't know we were playing each other at the time either.
Yeah,
so. Until now, week 3.
But I just had a random thought of watching it, and this guy is going up there, and he's talking about some good stuff, and he's confirming some thoughts that we had, and we're all fired up as we're talking to each other. And I look at him and I go, now, can you imagine like a normal person coming and sitting in on one of these, someone who likes football but doesn't coach? How bored out of their mind they would be to watch this guard pull and on a play that gains like a yard and a half. But this is the technique of the guard, and it's perfect. How bored out of their mind would they be?
Nothing is worse than the O-line coach that doesn't give 2 shits, who had 40 beers the night before, and he's just like, open pull. Yep, good pull. Yep, get on top of the down block right here.
Well, that's the thing. We've sit in more bad clinics than we have in good clinics, but when you sit in good ones, they're awesome. Sorry, Queen, to cut you off.
Nah, you're fine. I was like watching this thing, and I was like, dude, like, I thought back to like myself when I was, 18 and 19 years old, and like I had lived to go to these things, like I got on a plane and went to Utah to listen to this guy talk for 25 minutes just so I can meet this dude, and like that was my whole life. And now these same 18, 19-year-old kids that want to get into coaching are seeing these random clips on,
Go on.
So, but they go down to these clips, and like they don't have to do anything. And they miss this experience. Like, dude, the best part of going to the clinic is the clinic that we do ourselves with our own topics after we've gone and sat through all these guys talking and pick that stuff apart. But like, that's the best part. And now this younger generation of coaches are going to go to Facebook and all this other stuff. I'm like, I just hope it doesn't change. That's all.
Yeah.
No, it is a freaking blast when, everybody goes to a different clinic, at that time period, and then you meet back at the room and it's like, all right, what'd you learn? What'd you learn? And then you see where you can add it into your program or into your offense or defense and how you can benefit from what you just learned,
We've talked about this a lot. When you go to clinics, it's just when you come back, you get affirmation that what you're doing is right, or you get a little tweak and you're like, son of a bitch. Like, I never thought of maybe one step this way, the way that they taught it, or maybe
wearing that shirt with that jacket.
Right. One positional alignment makes a difference.
Yeah. Yep. No, 100%. 100%. And like, we always say, if we can just get one thing out of a clinic, it all becomes worth it. We pay money to go to these things. But if we can just get one thing out of it, it makes the whole deal really, really worth it.
And not a play. Like, it could be
not necessarily a play.
Like,
and it's funny. It's funny because when you're a young coach going and you're going like, everything is awesome. Like, we're going to do all of this. Let's put it all in, all together. And then as you get going through, it's like, all right, no, not really. When a coach goes up and pretends that he made up 4 verticals, like, we've all sat on those. Like, this is how we run 4 verticals. Like, oh, you phoned this one in.
The offensive coordinator that gives you inside zone with an RPO tag. God. You're like,
I think
thanks.
I think I texted you. It's like, all right, I can't wait to hear how School G, I think we're up to, how School G runs zone bubble.
Yep, thanks.
And then tomorrow we'll go to H and see how they run bubbles, zone bubble.
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
Backpedal versus open and run.
Right. Moose, what do you got?
Are you on deck? All right, me?
You can go.
I
won't go if we run out of time.
All right, so I'll go quick. So this year we experimented with Duo, and I thought, one of the big things in recent football nomenclature, vocabulary, but was the misconceptions between inside zone and Duo, and one of the things, I love inside zone. I'm an inside zone guy. But Duo gives you a lot. However, I believe that inside zone can make an average running back very good, whereas Duo has to make your running back has to be excellent. And it comes down to the fact that you have to read that play side mic, and where inside zone, everything takes care of itself. Like, what do we always tell about running backs in our offenses? It's kind of the knuckle dragger position. It's like, you're just a fucking stud and you can just score touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Where Duo comes into play is it forces your running back to have to think a little bit. And, when we experimented, and I don't have any hot take towards it, but I'm just talking about our experience this year running it. We did it. We played a team. It's primarily best against an even front team. And when we did it, and it was kind of tricky for us because of our multiple sets and what we do on offense, we don't generally get a very good sense of what a team's going to do until we play them. It's really tough.
You don't.
Yeah. It's really tough. And I think in the NFL, too many times in the NFL, because of how stagnant the fronts are, they're able to get away with Duo, that when you apply it to high school principles, it gets really tricky because of those same guys that align in ridiculous alignments that you never should be in. You know, their defensive coordinator screaming on the other side to be in a 2-eye, and they're lined up in a 3, and all these other things. You know, duo requires you to get those 2 double teams. And if you get an odd front team, you better have 2 tight ends in the game. And if you go against an even front team, you may only have 1 tight end based off alignment, because that equals out your pass game in your other 3 receivers plus the back to give you some advantages. I really like duo, but what came to fruition for me was, if you don't have a back that can read, cut, and get vertical, and it sounds ridiculous, but there's a big difference between a full wash on the 3, the 1, or 2 twos and whatever you want to do, or an odd stack team, and you get a full wash and flow on inside zone.
Yep. Right.
Duo's different, man. It forces your running back to play real, like we always say, slow to, fast through.
Right.
But duo makes you go slow, 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 and then go.
Right.
And I think when you have, like, Dallas made that play a phenomenon in 2016, 2017, 2018 with Zeke Elliott, because he was so good, and they were so good in the A to A gap, that I think it's really hard for high school programs to be able to run that duo concept.
Right. And I mean, look at San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco now, I mean, runs duo so much. And for people, I'm sure we lost about 11 of the 14. But I don't 13. Care. I don't care.
It's a football podcast. Get on the same page.
Duo is power without a puller, is how it's really sold. And it's funny because I really didn't see it. Like, I never really saw. It's very easy to mistake it for inside zone because of the flow of the defense. The defense's natural flow is going to make it look like inside zone. It's going to look less like power, because when they don't see a puller, they're going to try to flow over the top like a zone step. And then when you're comboing up to a front side backer instead of a backside backer, it's more likely he's going to work play side than the backside guy is going to be the one coming off.
But that's the trickiest part about gap scheme power versus duo, is you're now full caging back with the center to a backside backer, not just a backside first man on the line of scrimmage. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the way you can tell duo versus inside zone is the path of the back.
Yes.
And you'll see the path of the back slow to the play side guard, and then you may get a jump cut into the play side B gap when that's, on inside zone, that would be a bang or a bend into the backside B, but that's actually hitting front side on the duo concept. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's, I think you have to be so good in your 12 personnel game that, like, you need to add an additional gap on every single time you call it. So my thing basically is, based off our experience talking about football, is we installed duo this year. We ran duo, we ran it in a game. I love the concept, but really what came down to it is, because we're a zone-based team, duo is fantastic, but I can see it already where it's, if you don't have a back that has that capability to read and run, it's not a concept you can do. And if you don't have a tight end, at minimum, you need 2 at minimum, or a secondary back. You can't run duo.
Right.
And, like I said, I think Dallas made it popular in those early years with Zeke Elliott. And I think a lot of teams have tried to replicate it. And a lot of guys misconstrue inside zone for duo and vice versa.
Yep.
And, just really talking about our experience this year where it's like, we had guys that could get vertical in the A gaps. So we were like, hey, man, let's go duo, and
Yep.
just the amount of change that you have to do as opposed to running a true gap scheme or inside zone. Changes
Hell
up.
yeah. 100%. All right, let's get into the game. Today we're playing Position U. Y'all have heard the debates of DBU, and we're going to settle that today. We'll go around the room and pick what college has produced the best for each of the positions. We're doing quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, O-line, D-line, linebacker, and DB. We'll kind of randomize that order. Now, the deal is we can all pick the same schools, but I can't put the same school twice on my list. So I can't pick an Alabama for DBs and running backs, but we can all have Alabama is the way that's going to work. So we're going to randomize this order here. Okay, and the first thing we were talking about is tight end. Dank, who's tight end you?
So tight end you, more recently, I think with
I think that's what most of this is going to be is like 2000.
But even they have like an older guy that freaking was a beast at tight end. I went with Iowa.
Gotta be Iowa.
George Kittle, Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson, and Dallas Clark went to Iowa.
Yep.
Dallas Clark.
Cowboy. Anything further there? Any further breakdown there, Moose? Queen, what about you? What do you got for tight end you?
Most underrated tight end in history.
Very good.
Fair enough.
I actually had Iowa as well.
Yeah, gotta be Iowa.
I looked at that, and I honestly I loved seeing Dallas Clark play in college. I actually was less interested in the Hawkinson, Noah Fant years.
Easy there.
I settled down.
And then he got
It's my
Kittle.
boy.
But I did watch. I did enjoy watching Dallas Clark though. But I was pretty certain on Iowa.
Tight end you, Iowa. That's probably the easiest one.
Yeah. The only other team I was thinking of was Miami.
Yep, they had that good run.
Shockey, Greg Olson, Kellen
Winslow
Jr.
They got to run on everything though.
Yeah, they're
I
At
feel
some point.
minus
Oklahoma had a decent run, I think, too. I mean, they had Mark Andrews.
They have Gresham too, right?
Gresham, yep. But I think it's got to be Iowa. I just hear Moose saying no.
I don't know what he's doing.
No.
The answer is Iowa.
The answer is Iowa.
For 5 points,
All right.
Iowa.
All right.
I'm not done with that.
Two trick.
Next up is who is D-line U? Quee, why don't you start us off here?
Well, I feel like an easy selection would be Alabama in our prime.
Soft ass.
I personally I have Alabama in
That's
two
your
spots with some flexibility there, but
Well, you don't have flexibility.
You
said I can only take them in one spot. So
Right.
I got flexibility across the board.
Okay. Yeah, you can only
Like
take
I don't
one
have to
spot.
pick them later. Yeah, I get
Can't pick them later. Yeah.
it. No, I know.
if you use them now.
So who's
That's a bad pick.
who's D-line U?
Yeah, I'll say Bama and open it up.
Okay. Moose. Who's D-line U?
D-line U. I would go with
Who did you
That's a
have?
bad pick.
Moose doesn't prepare.
No,
No.
but I wouldn't put, if we can only pick Alabama once, I would
Yep.
not pick D-line as the pick.
I know. Well, someone's got
I'll
to
go
start the
with
combo.
I'll go with Ohio State on that.
It's got to be Ohio State.
I went
Yeah.
Ohio State.
It
I mean,
has to be Ohio State.
I mean, Ohio State has a claim for a couple other positions, but nothing
Absolutely.
compares to the
right.
Bosa brothers, Chase Young, and you forget about Cam Hayward,
Cam
who's been
Hayward.
dominating
Yeah.
the
Yes.
NFL for the last 15 years.
Yep.
Like, come on.
Yep.
And I hate Ohio State.
And there's other guys. I mean, those are all the big one.
Right.
Michael Bennett.
Yep.
Not the one who was in Seattle. He's in Jacksonville for a while. Draymond Jones is playing well for Denver. John Simon has bounced around the league and has played well.
Simon's been a player, dude.
He's a gangster. I love John Simon. And
listen, we
Didn't
watched
Mike
Simon
Vrabel
when
play
he was in
D-line for Ohio
college, and we
State?
were like, this kid's a player.
Yeah, Vrabel was a D lineman for Ohio State. Ohio State has always been an even front. So, like, a lot of those dudes are playing, like, that outside backer role, too, including John Simon, too. So, same deal.
Hot take. All major college defenses are 4 down fronts because they know that that's how they're going to get the best defensive lineman.
It's possible.
And that's what matters.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
Yep.
Even if they don't tell their
100%.
guys they're in fucking sub packages the entire game.
Yeah. Oh, funny story there too is Myles Garrett recently came out that he almost went to Ohio State. They asked him if he didn't go to Texas A&M, where would he go? He go Ohio State. And he goes, that run would have been Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Chase Young. I mean, like,
hey, do you remember
stupid.
What's that guy? Shiano, and he left Ohio State and said, dude, I just left the best D-line room in the country. And it was Bosa brothers, Chase Young, and all those other guys that are mid-round picks, but still drafted.
Dude,
like,
crazy what they produce. It's got, Ohio State. All right, this is the hot one. Who is DBU? Moose, go ahead and kick it off. This is the tough
Ohio
one.
State's is Ohio State off the board?
For you just picked Ohio State. We don't have to agree on these.
No.
You have your own list.
I'm going to go with I'm going to go with LSU.
Yeah.
And it's going to be controversial. However, there's no right answer. So what I am going to go is off of the 3 best players and their accolades, which is Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, and Jamal Adams. And I think Jamal is kind of like whatever you want him to be. But I think Jamal, if he was in a better situation in every single place he's been, he could be really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to go with it.
I just also think of them in so many other spots. Like, who's produced better linebackers? Who's produced better actual receivers? Like, with Ohio State gone, I think I'd have to go LSU. Also.
I know who produced better wide receivers. It's easy.
Okay, save it.
Yep.
Right.
Tank, DBU.
Yeah, I went with LSU too. Again, Miami was up there too.
Yeah. I mean, fuck.
Sure.
It's a guy forgotten. Yeah, Miami's definitely up there. But a guy forgot from LSU, TB, Pat Peterson, like, gangster. Like, all right. Number 4.
Who'd you have?
Oh, Quee.
So at DBU, I had a couple of thoughts. I was kind of curious to see where
Moose's son, not a fan of the pick.
I thought LSU would be the easy
Take the
pick.
monitor. Oh, hold up, real quick.
Take the monitor
with
and
you.
your headset.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Queen.
I thought LSU would be an easy pick, but I also think that, dude, Ohio State has had some DBs, man.
Yup.
If you really paid attention,
Yeah.
like over the course of 20 years, I mean, that
Oh.
might be more consistent
The-
than any college program that we've ever seen from
especially in terms
2000 on.
right. In terms of draft picks, you're looking Denzel Ward, Marshawn Lattimore, Malik Hooker, go all the way back to Malcolm Jenkins, who's still in the league. Chris Gamble.
Right.
Mike
And then look
Boss.
at there was guys that didn't necessarily hit home runs in the NFL, but
right.
look at the first round corners that
I mean,
came out over the last 5-6 years.
Right. I mean, Bradley Roby's a dog. Like he's kind of settled into a nickel role.
Eli Apple.
He was.
I love
he was good
Eli.
in college.
But Von Bell.
Yeah.
Kirk Coleman has been in the league forever. I think
Okuda went 3.
Okuda, he'll get there.
Yeah. Will he play? Who knows?
No, they had a lot of.
It
A lot
is.
of talent.
I think, in terms of just overall, Ohio State is DBU, but I had to take them a D-line.
Right.
I'm taking. I'm going to take Ohio State there.
All right. Next is quarterback U. And we're going to start with me. And we're just going kind of recently with this deal. And everyone listening knows I'm such a huge Ohio State fan. And we get criticized for this all the time of you've never produced a great NFL quarterback, which is or you haven't produced consistent NFL quarterbacks. It's okay, but who has?
Right.
No one really has. The only argument I can ever make for any school, if you want to talk about it, I think it's got to be Oklahoma.
Right. Oklahoma.
You're thinking Baker, thinking Kyler, thinking Jalen Hurts. So they got 3 starter capable guys. You go back to Jason White, who won the Heisman. You got Sam Bradford, who won the Heisman and was first overall pick.
Right.
Oklahoma's my pick. Dank.
I'm conflicted because I want to save this for linebackers, but I'm going to go USC. I mean, not a great set of,
Right.
NFL play, but they had dudes that get drafted,
They had a
nonstop.
They had a run there for a while. It's crazy that Carson Palmer is the top one out of all of them.
Right.
But yeah, you went Carson Palmer.
I mean, obviously
Matt
Leinart. Freaking Darnold.
Darnold's play well. Yep. John David Booty.
Mark Sanchez.
John David Booty's nephew just signed with Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And his last name is also Booty. First name General.
General Booty.
His name is General Booty.
Nice.
Go look up. Yeah, he's a JUCO transfer to Oklahoma. General Booty. Big. He's going to be first ever pick route athlete. General Booty. Queen, who do you got for quarterback U?
I went back and forth with both of those schools, OU and USC, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, they had that run. It was so fun. I think it was Big Cat tweeted out. They had the run where they went Baker, Kyler, and then Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts is going off at the beginning of the year. I think Big Cat tweeted out, can you imagine if Alabama had a talented quarterback like Jalen Hurts? How good they would be.
Right?
But yeah, it was funny watching Kyler and then Jalen. It's well, Baker kind of sucked.
Dude, you know who I was thinking about going BYU. McMahon, Steve Young.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson now.
Yeah. But here we go. Running back U. Dan, kick us off.
I'm going with Georgia.
Oh,
Georgia.
Okay.
More
good
recently, freaking Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift.
Mm-hmm.
They had Herschel Walker, obviously, freaking Terrell Davis,
Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley, Sony Michel.
Yep. It's a good pick. Quee. Who's running back you?
Well, I took one of these schools off the board, but I think the one that's we forget is Miami. Dude, the run of backs that they
unreal.
had over a course of 4 or 5 years, and from 2000 or really 99, 98 on
Yep.
to about 2005 was wild.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Who was that? It was McGahee.
Yep.
Was the starter.
They had Edgerrin James before
Edgerrin
that.
James.
But they had all on the same team was McGahee, and then it was Clinton Portis,
and then Frank Gore, right?
And Frank Gore, and Walter Payton's son was fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he stunk.
But
compared to you would think you hit that one in the recruiting day. You're like, man, I'm getting paid. He's fourth on the depth chart.
Right.
Crazy. So my running back, I tried to play it, but I got an ad right here. So give me a second. How was your day, Dank?
It's very average at best.
Here we go. It's not it.
Sick, bro. Oh, wow. You went with Wisconsin?
Gotta be Wisconsin.
Doesn't have to be Wisconsin.
It's gotta be Wisconsin. Gotta be. They've always had the dudes. I mean, you Melvin Gordon, Monty Ball,
Jonathan
Clemens,
Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor, who's the best back in the league. You go back to Ron Dane, who
Monty Ball was
ate himself out of the league. Monty Ball was so
year.
good. Out of all of them, the one that scared me the most, though, was Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
We were able to contain him. I want to talk about Ohio State.
I don't think
we were able to contain it pretty well. But you're always scared of their running backs.
Oh, no Sean Moreno for Georgia, too.
True. With your boy Stafford. All right.
Yeah.
6 is linebacker you. And this goes to Quee or me?
Quee.
I'm gonna go with LSU.
Yeah, I mean,
in recent,
Yeah. Yep.
I went with Miami just for the guys that they had. Not a ton, but freaking the guys that they did have. Jonathan Vilma, John Beeson, freaking Ray Lewis.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. DJ Williams those years were good too.
I'm gonna take Alabama. And I think the best one we've ever seen is the one they have now, who's the rush end. But Will Anderson is phenomenal. But as I'm looking through my list, I'm like, I haven't taken Alabama yet anywhere. So I should probably take them. So I'll take that. Reuben Foster, Dante Hightower. They've produced dudes. Next is O-line you. And I've already taken Wisconsin. So the other answer is Notre Dame.
Yep. I had 3 O-lines. Ohio State was one of them.
Yep.
Wisconsin and Notre Dame. But I'm going to go with Wisconsin here.
Same. And I had the same 3 schools.
Yeah. I mean, you could make an argument for Notre Dame, Alabama.
Of course.
LSU had a really good run. And the other one is Stanford. Stanford's produced some good offensive linemen too. But yeah, Notre Dame with what's his face?
Jack Martin, Quentin
Nelson. Just with those 2 alone, you're really going to start making it
too, right?
Who?
Mike McGlinchey. He was on that same.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and last one is who is wide receiver you? Dank, why don't you start us off?
So I went more recently. I went with Alabama. I mean, Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, Devontae Smith, freaking
Waddle,
Jerry Jeudy,
Waddle, Jameson Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've been pretty loaded. Quay, who'd you take?
I was torn between Clemson and USC. I'm gonna take Clemson.
Yeah,
I loved Mike Williams out of USC.
I'm taking Clemson as well. DeAndre Hopkins, who, like, it's so funny with DeAndre Hopkins. Sammy Watkins was the guy.
Right.
Was one of the best college receivers I've ever seen. And then they had who was the other one they had? Martavius Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
I think Justin Ross is going on like a huge revenge tour, like for not getting drafted, which is crazy.
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. Quee, I think we hit them all.
Are we forgetting one?
I think we hit them all. So that'll do it. Bring it up. Take a knee.
Oh man.
Who are we forgetting, Quee?
Only the best slot wideout in the NFL.
Best one Josh McDaniels has ever coached.
I hope you're listening from upstairs, Moose.
In the hunt. It was late. It was late today.
That's my dynasty team. In the hunt.
Yeah, it is. We're all in the same fantasy football league that we're kind of drafting now.
We started at 1:00 yesterday afternoon, and we're not even through 6 rounds.
I know, it's crazy. But I got Josh Allen, I got Derrick Henry, and I got TJ Watt. So if I am not good, fantasy football is the dumbest game invented.
You're going to hate it.
I'm going to hate it so much. But all right, bring it up. Take a knee. Thank you for listening. Thank you to our good friend Savino for the use of our theme song, Time is Money. You can find him on Instagram at Savino_music. Look up Savino. That is Savino. Thank you to Sarah Wine for the creation of our logo. Thank you to our producer, Brian Miller. You can follow us on social media at The Pick Route across all channels. That's Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at The Pick Route. You can email us game ideas. I'm telling you, we need them. So if you have a game idea, we struggle every Wednesday. We're starting to run out. So email us game ideas at thepickride@gmail.com. New episodes every Tuesday. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And until next week, remember, it could be worse. It could be better.
That's why I do what I want. Spending all your time, won't never get it back. Time is money, don't be wasting my cash. Give it back, give it back, get it back. Time is money, don't be wasting my stash. Spending all your time, won't never get it back. Spending all your time, won't never get it back. Wasting all your good years living in the past. We only got this one life, get it on track. Money on my mind, all I think about is cash. I tell her swallow deep, cause I like it like that. I got that magic break a backboard, don't get like Shaq. Paul strapped up bombs like Iraq. Fuck your feelings, show me facts. If we ain't talking stacks, I don't got time for that. Pick and choose who they love.